One of the best parts of the NBA season is getting to predict and rank where you think each team will end up by the end of the regular season. That's also one of the most challenging things to do, as you can never know how it's going to go with injuries, shooting slumps, hot streaks, anything like that, team chemistry, fallouts, fired coaches, all that good stuff. So without further ado, how's it going, pal? I'm Mason, and let's get straight into the Western Conference standings predictions for the 24-25 season. At number 15, starting off, I have the Portland Trailblazers. It was kind of a toss-up between them and the next team for the spot, but ever since Dame left, they've obviously been in a very deep rebuild, and they kind of are still figuring out that guard spot with Anthony Simons, Scoot Henderson, and Shaedon Sharpe, and it's just kind of all around a hard situation for them. And DeAndre Ayton is still a little, he's a good player, but he still has so much untapped potential. I don't know if he'll reach into. And last season, they finished towards the bottom of the Western Conference as well. And at number 14, I have the Utah Jazz. The thing that's hard with the Jazz is that Lauri Markkanen is an incredible player. They just don't have a team around him. You're shopping Walker Kessler. The team is just still so young. Keontae George is going to be a very good player. Just give these guys some time to grow. After a little bit more of tanking and rebuilding, give them probably 2-3 years, I think they'll be a playoff team. Now, this one was a very hard team to put here at number 13. I have the San Antonio Spurs. The reason this sucked is because if you know how standings go, especially with the West, there's so many good teams that could make it. Other than the Trailblazers and the Jazz, I think every other team in the West has play-in potential or even playoff potential at their highest. Maybe not the Spurs. I don't think they could be a 6 seed this year. The veteran presence they picked up with Harrison Barnes and Chris Paul will definitely be a huge help. The problem is Wemby is still young. He's still developing, and he is already an incredible player. The best shot blocker in basketball in his rookie year. That's going to be terrifying to see. I think as a ceiling for this team, they could be an 8 or a 9 seed this year. Don't take it too harsh that I put them this low, because like I said, they realistically could be an 8 or a 9 seed at their highest, and I wouldn't be too surprised about it. Now at number 12, I have the Golden State Warriors. This was hard to put at number 12 because I do really like Steph Curry, though, of course, especially as a Thunder fan. What he's done to me over the years is unforgivable, but at this point, I have to just say, you know what? I have a lot of respect for this guy. The only problem is getting rid of Klay Thompson breaks up that core group of players they had, and now it's kind of on the backs of him and Draymond to be the veterans on this team. They didn't really do anything crazy this offseason other than picking up Buddy Hield and Kyle Anderson. Can Buddy Hield fill the role that Klay Thompson was in? If not, who's going to step up? Jonathan Kuminga is going to have a better year this year, especially after he got his haircut last year. Apparently that just made him twice the player he was before. He said he wanted out and got more playing time, and he was averaging like between 18 and 20 points a game after that, I'm pretty sure. You have Podziemski. Podziemski is a solid young player. The guy is a very smart player at that. He can shoot from outside. He's a good playmaker. A little out of control at times, yes. He's going to be very good for them. Trace Jackson Davis, same thing. Definitely performed way above the standards that people had for him. He started off the season not even getting playing time and being on the G League roster, and then towards the end of the season, the guy ended up starting 16 games last year, which was a shock after how the season started, and he played 68, put up very, very solid numbers, can rebound the ball well, can block shots, is very aggressive at the rim. Even if Trace isn't going to be a superstar caliber player, you have to feed into what his role is. Like, for example, Kevon Looney, incredible rebounder. If you have a player like that, you need to tap into their role, exactly what they're good at. That's what makes the Warriors what they are. You have Draymond Green, who's a very good defender, excellent playmaker, screen setter, although sometimes they're a little excessive, I will say that. They play into his role so well of what he can do with the offense. They literally give him the ball to run the offense because they know he's capable of it. With a guy like Podziemski, You have to let him get downhill, get to the rim. He's fast. He can fly into the paint, kick it out to an open shooter. And Trace is one of those players. He kind of reminds me when obviously he's not as athletic as Aaron Gordon, but it's kind of that mold of player to where you keep him on the dunker spot, and if you can throw him a lob, every time. That's what him and Chris Paul were an excellent pair, because you run the pick and roll between Chris Paul and Trace Jackson Davis. He would cut, throw him that little bounce pass or throw it up top, and he's jamming that every single time. I don't know if the Warriors will make the play-in this year. I did write down that they would have a ceiling of an 8 seed though. 12 is my spot for them. I could see him being a 12 seed. I gave him a ceiling of being 8 though. And at number 11, I have the Houston Rockets. After last season, we kind of saw what the Houston Rockets were capable of. They weren't playing the best teams during that 10-game winning streak, but they were playing out of their minds. My girlfriend is a Warriors fan, so during this time, she was very panicked about the Warriors losing that play-in spot because of the Rockets. After another year of development from Emma Thompson, Reed Shepherd is going to be excellent for this team. He's a sharpshooter, and their offense, running those high pick and rolls, especially without Şengün there. When Şengün's there, obviously he has the ball in his hands a little more. I do think Reed Shepherd playing off of Şengün will be a very, very good pairing. We looked at what the Thunder did. They jumped from the 10th seed all the way up to number 1. The Rockets, I don't know if they'll have that kind of jump, just because they don't have someone of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's caliber on the team. Şengün is an excellent player, don't get me wrong. You need that jump from Jalen Green a little more, and you need Şengün to be better as well. He was not healthy at the end of last year, so you just hope for a full healthy season from him. I think this could be a play-in team as well. I'd say 13, you could swap any of these teams and I would not be upset with you at all. And coming in at number 10, we have the Clippers, okay? This one was a hard team to rank. You're trying to estimate how much of an impact Paul George had on this team. You're looking at more of a step up from James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, more of a step up from Norman Powell. Last year, they had that really hot stretch after picking up Harden. They barely lost any games for like a month and a half. They only lost like twice, I think. I put him at 10 because Kawhi also, there's not yet news of if he's healthy or not. He sat out. He didn't play in the Olympics. There's no official confirmation that he will be healthy at the start of the regular season. And if so, this team could start off really bad. If he's out for 15 games, this team could be 5-10 after 15 games if no Kawhi. It all depends on what James Harden is able to do. It's hard for me to give him a lot of leeway after losing Paul George, but again, this team could have a play-in ceiling. I just don't know. Higher than 8 is a little questionable for me. At number 9, I have the Lakers. The Lakers were incredible until right after the in-season tournament. During the in-season tournament, they were 14-9, and then the championship game does not technically count. They went from being 14-9 to 17-19, 3-10 in their next 13 games after the in-season tournament. I don't know for certain if you can rely on the health of LeBron and Anthony Davis this late in their careers. I'm not going to put any doubt on LeBron, obviously, until I see otherwise, because that guy has shown us he doesn't care. He'll be 65 years old and he'll still be playing 60 games a season. I don't know how he does it. I don't know for sure how Anthony Davis's health will be this year. His health is always a question mark. Last year was one of his healthier seasons. I'm just not sure how that's going to look. Dalton Knecht is going to be a very good rookie for this team. I had to switch him with the Suns just because last year also the Suns were a better regular season team, and I think that will follow suit again this year, but I think it'll be a little bit closer. But the Lakers in a play-in game, I think, is usually a for sure lock, and the way it's looking as of my current standings, they'd be playing the Clippers in a play-in game, which Anthony Davis against Zubac, that would be a good look. However, the Lakers have not played well against the Clippers in the LeBron era. Since 2020, the Clippers are 14-5 against the Lakers, and that's the only thing that would scare me in that play-in game is just that number. But team-wise, the matchup, like I said, there's no Paul George that you'd have to worry about. The Lakers, again, having Anthony Davis, LeBron, D'Angelo Russell, it has not shown us anything other than that. They had that one Western Conference Finals appearance, which was a very, very good run from them, and they took out the Warriors and the Grizzlies on the way there. I don't know if that's going to be sustainable for them. I do really like watching this team. They're primetime TV every time you watch LeBron. Obviously the guy's incredible to watch. Some of the stuff he's still doing at 40 years old almost is incredible to me, but I don't have a lot lot of high hopes for this team this year. At number 8, I have the Phoenix Suns. Last year, they were the number 6 seed. I seriously think in the West, it's one of those things of if you're not making moves to improve, other teams will pass you. We saw that with the Sacramento Kings. They went from being the 3 seed 2 years ago, and then last year in the West, they were a play-in team and got knocked out by the Pelicans without Zion. With Phoenix, it's not really sustainable to have Kevin Durant as the best defender on your team. I love Kevin Durant. He's my second favorite player of all time, and he's getting older, more miles on his body. And Bradley Beal also has not been exactly what he was shaped up to be. The only thing is Grayson Allen is still a great three-point shooter. After this offseason, he is massive. I mean, he put on a lot of weight, a lot of muscle, and the only thing is if that messes with his three-point shot, that could definitely hurt this team as a team that excels in mid-range scoring. I mean, both Kevin Durant and Devin Booker shoot 50% or more of their shots from mid-range. If you're an elite mid-range scorer, you always are going to fall into that struggle of technically the least efficient shot in basketball. I love mid-range shots. They're my favorite shot personally, but when you're shooting tons of mid-range shots in this day and age, if a team comes out and makes 15 plus threes in a game against you, now you're having to fight for every basket. Devin Booker will have probably a better season. Nurkic has shown he is a great rebounder, but defensively also he is kind of a question mark. It just depends on the game for him. Sometimes he is actually a pretty good defender, a little inconsistent on that side of the ball. I hated putting him this low. At number 7, I have the Sacramento Kings. So this is the last of the play-in teams, and like I said before, I could see any of these play-in teams flip-flopping wherever. I have the Kings at number 7 because of the offensive addition of DeMar DeRozan, my favorite player of all time, DeMar DeRozan. You pair that with Sabonis's playmaking. De'Aaron Fox obviously needs the ball in his hands to be an effective player. I could see also De'Aaron Fox kind of learning to be a little bit of an off-ball player. I'm not saying he's going to be like Klay Thompson, running off screens and catch and shoot. No, I'm saying De'Aaron Fox could learn to be a little better without the ball with DeMar DeRozan on the team, and especially with some of that isolation mid-range scoring he brings. Instead of kind of playing Morey ball where it's just three-pointers and layups, I think this could be the year they mesh into that everything. They're shooting mid-ranges, they're shooting threes, they're making layups. Keegan Murray is going to develop even more. Last year he showed us as a defender, I mean, that guy is incredible. The year before his rookie season, it was kind of embarrassing if he'd get switched on to someone, an elite outside scorer, or if he had to guard like a LeBron or somebody, but he's definitely picked up a lot in those defensive tools. You know, he'll get in that stance, he'll quick on his feet now, uses his wingspan to contest shots, which are things that he definitely picked up on more once he got into the NBA, because obviously when he's playing in high school, when he was playing in college, he didn't really have to lock in that much on the defensive side of the ball because he was the number one option on offense. Being a defensive player is going to be exactly what this team needs. I'm not saying he has to be an elite rim protector. If he can just be elite in both areas of defense, in the paint and on the perimeter, I think that will help this team a lot. Kind of like an OG Anunoby where he can defend anywhere on the court. If Keegan Murray is that player, this team actually has room to go up. This team could be as high as a 4 or 5 seed in my opinion. If they get that defensive jump, you just need, DeMar to be there. DeMar, Fox, Sabonis, obviously wishing them good health. DeMar is going to be a good addition to this team regardless of what people say. You're literally replacing Harrison Barnes with DeMar DeRozan. I don't know what else you could really say about that. And they still have Kevin Huerter on the team. You still have Keon Ellis. You lost Davion Mitchell, who was a good perimeter defender, but Keon Ellis is very good as well, and I think he can fill that role that Davion Mitchell brought to the team. And at number 6, I have the New Orleans Pelicans. I wanted to put them higher so badly. I really do love this team. Zion, incredible player, and last year he was finally healthy, and we got news that this year we could be seeing more Zion center minutes. So last year he played 14% of his minutes at center, and during that time their team was a net plus 10 point differential per 100 possessions. That tells you right there that if you have Zion at center, if we've all seen that he is very, very athletic, obviously, but he is very good at that second jump. If he were to jump on a pump fake, he can jump just as high on that second jump, and he could probably still block that shot. Defensively is where Zion needs to step up. You don't have Jonas Valanciunas, that big bruiser post player that you had before, but I think for this team that actually opens up things a little more. If you do have Zion at center, I'm not saying the whole entire time, maybe get Yves Messi in there a little bit at center, but I do think you have Zion at center that gives you room to run Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, more outside shooting from this team, and it also allows for Zion to go to work a little more. We saw in that play-in game against the Lakers, I know it's just one game, but I love talking about it because he was incredible. He would run right at Anthony Davis every single time, and I'm not kidding you, this guy literally could not be stopped. If he didn't get hurt, we would have been talking about the Pelicans against the Nuggets. That's exactly the series we would have seen, and if he didn't get hurt, I'm just saying the Nuggets would not have had an answer for Zion Williamson. A 6-game series was possible there. I could see it. Speaking of the Nuggets though, that's who I have at number 5. Obviously Nikola Jokic, to me at least, is still the best player in the NBA. Coming off his 3rd MVP season, I mean, they lost Caldwell Pope, a big part of their defensive culture that they had on the team. I don't know how that void is going to be filled. That's why I brought them down to number 5. They were 2 last year, 1 game ahead of the Timberwolves at number 3. I just think this is going to be an even tougher Western Conference this year. If the Nuggets are number 5, you have nothing to be worried about though. Just the regular season, I think this team might realize, you know, it's not so important for us to get that top 2 seed. But when it comes to playoff time, you know, Jokic needs to be locked in on defense. I don't know what happened to Jamal Murray against the Timberwolves, but you can't let that happen again. You cannot get locked up the way that he did against the Timberwolves. That was honestly a little embarrassing. As someone who really likes Jamal Murray and loves, you know, those tough shots he hits, you know, you have Christian Brown who's going to step up as well, and Russell Westbrook being there, veteran presence, helping off the bench. I think this team is a little more primed for the playoffs this year. However, losing KCP is going to be tough. It is going to be tough for them. And now here we are moving up to the top 4 teams in the West. So number 4, I have the Grizzlies. Number 4, Grizzlies. The Grizzlies were terrible last year. Yes, they were god awful. I can't even tell you if I watched more than like 3 Grizzlies games last year, 4 Grizzlies games. I was not locked in with them. But what I do know is when we had Ja Morant there, when we had Jaren Jackson, when we had this team at full strength, full health, they were the 2 seed in the West. Did they lose in the first round to the Lakers? Yes, they did. Absolutely did. People have quickly forgotten who Ja Morant is, and I think as long as he stays away from the off-the-court trouble, I think he'll definitely have the best season of his career this year. You have Marcus Smart, one of the best perimeter defenders in the game. You know, you still have Jaren Jackson there. You finally have a center, Zach Edey. His only issue is going to be mobility. He's not very quick on his feet. I watched the guy play some in college. He is very strong. He's big. He can set good screens. Him and Ja Morant in a pick and roll are going to be nasty. And I mean, if Ja Morant has a little better of an outside shot, like a slightly improved outside shot, I think that will be a big difference maker for this team. Because coming off of a Zach Edey screen, you know, you're going to have to figure out, okay, if Ja has that elite shot, I mean, even if it's not, you know, anything absolutely crazy, like the last full season we saw him play, he only shot 30.7% from 3. Even if you were to get it up to 34, 35, then you start making guys question, okay, am I going to fight over the screen to make sure he doesn't shoot? Well, what happens when you fight over the screen? Ja Morant flies by you to the rim. Then that guy, if he falls back, he's going to have to make that decision. Okay, do I commit to Ja? Is he going to throw a lob to Zach Edey, a bounce pass? That's the type of plays we're going to be looking for from this team. Desmond Bane also, criminally underrated player. I love his game. He's a very good shot maker. I think the Grizzlies realistically could be anywhere from like 3 to like 7 this year. I put them at 4 personally. I'm very high on them this year. The reason I didn't like them before was because of Dylan Brooks, but he's gone, so don't have to worry about that anymore. All right, so unfortunately I had to re-record this part of the video. My number 3 team is the Minnesota Timberwolves. The reason I had to re-record, obviously, if you did not know, Karl Anthony Towns was traded to the New York Knicks, meaning the dynamic of this team actually has changed quite a bit. I put them at number 3 instead of at number 1 where I originally had them because I really enjoyed the floor spacing, obviously, that Karl Anthony Towns brought to the team. Donte DiVincenzo will provide that. However, he's not going to get a crazy amount of playing time, especially with them trying to develop Rob Dillingham off the bench. Mike Conley will most likely still start, so you're kind of in a weird spot with that. Overall, I'm just not really sure how that's going to work for the Timberwolves. Just that question mark alone leaves me to put them at number 3. Anthony Edwards will be very good this year. He will get better. His production will go up. I'm just not sure how I feel about Julius Randle. I mean, he is a very much of a mid-range and paint dominant offensive player. He does shoot threes. He's not a great three-point shooter, which is going to be kind of an issue for them. I mean, if you have Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert in the paint, then it's like offensively that kind of limits what you're able to do with Anthony Edwards, who is a very effective finisher at the rim. But other than that, I do really like the defense that this team has. Julius Randle is a little bit better of a perimeter defender than Karl Anthony Towns, so that might help a little bit. I just don't know if that's really what they necessarily needed, because I mean, they already have Jaden McDaniels, who's a great perimeter defender, Anthony Edwards as well. I mean, I guess if that's what they say they needed, because you do after all have one of the best paint defenders in Rudy Gobert, so maybe that's to kind of ease up him getting switched to the outside. He is not a great perimeter defender. He's not bad, but it kind of eases up the pressure on him a little bit, because like in Utah, when their defenses were insane, all they do is funnel everything to the paint and have Rudy Gobert deal with it when they get there. And that's, I could see Minnesota doing that a little more as well. Good use out of Donte DiVincenzo, because I just hope he's able to still effectively, you know, get playing time, get some good shots up. He was an incredible three-point shooter last year. Let's continue that for the Timberwolves. So that is my number 3 team because of that. At number 2, I have the Dallas Mavericks. Great Western Conference Finals series against the Timberwolves. They took out my Thunder in the second round. Their team is very well built for the playoffs. You have 2 great rim runners, lob finishers, and you have one of the best lob throwers in the game in Luka Doncic. That doesn't even speak on his shot creation, Kyrie Irving as well. I do think that the Mavericks, they do have room to go anywhere up from 4 to 1. Anywhere in there, I'd say is a good range for them. They could be a 1 seed, honestly. I think though with this team, they are a little less fluid during the regular season. We've seen that from some of these Luka Doncic teams, but now that they kind of have a set lineup, I think they will jump up. That's my personal prediction for them. The only issue I have with the Mavs is how good will Klay Thompson be for this team in the starting, if he's, you know, in the starting lineup, how good will he be for them? He's going to be a good three-point shooter, as he always has been. He shot 40% last year. I just don't know defensively how that's going to be, losing Derrick Jones Jr., who was a good defender for them, but I think you keep PJ Washington, who did play good defense for them, especially in the playoffs. I do really like this team. I just have a little bit of questions, and other than that, when I get my questions answered, I'll be happy to watch. My number 1 team for the regular season, once again in the standings, second year in a row, give me the Oklahoma City Thunder. Originally, like I said, I did have the Timberwolves here, but I could not continue to put them there after giving up Cat and getting Julius Randle. If the Thunder are like a 2 or a 3 or something, that's fine. I can see that too. This is, like I said, this was just a fun prediction. So I have the Thunder at 1 here. Over the offseason, after already being the 1 seed, they picked up Isaiah Hartenstein to ease up some of their rebounding troubles that were exposed in the playoffs, not just by the Mavs, even by the Pelicans. I mean, Jonas Valanciunas was just eating. He always plays well against the Thunder, but especially in that playoffs, I mean, there was one game he scored the first 4 or 5 baskets against the Thunder as well, and it's like we needed someone a little bigger in the interior. Obviously, Chet is super, I mean, he's tall, he's 7 foot, 7'1". We just needed a rebounder, and we went and got Isaiah Hartenstein, who showed in the playoffs he was a rebounder, he was big, he was able to play some good defense in the paint, which is what we needed. Also, one of the best perimeter defenders in the league in Alex Caruso. I do still think that this team being so young is definitely a good sign for regular season success as well. When you look at teams like the Lakers, Warriors, whatever, whatever. Those teams, because they have older guys, they're not going to play as much for the regular season. Even the Nuggets, you're going to play more to secure your spot in the playoffs and then just give it your all once you get there, versus the younger teams have a little bit more health, energy, whatever, to play more games. So when you look at guys like Shai, you have, Cason Wallace, another great year from him will be expected. And I mean, J-Dub will improve, Chet will improve. That's all you can really look for this team. I think this team could be 55 plus wins again, and that's my hopes for the Thunder. I wasn't super disappointed last year. I mean, going into that series against the Mavs, I figured the Mavs had it in 7. I was hoping that it would be a little bit, like I said, if the series would have gone to 7, I would have been a little happier, but also it probably would have broke my heart even more seeing us losing that series. But it was a great series, and I just think this year, after that experience, the Thunder will be a little more hungry, and I could see a Western Conference Finals or a Finals run in the making for this team. Now, that is my Western Conference predictions for the standings, numbers 1 all the way through 15. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Give me your standings if you feel like it. We can discuss them. There's no bad, harsh feelings towards any team in this video. It's just someone has to be 15, someone has to be 14. That's what sucks about doing standings, is someone has to be below everyone else. Someone has to be, lower than you want or higher than you want even. That's what sucks about doing standings, but also that's what makes it fun, because you can kind of throw teams wherever and there's a possibility to make it happen. You can put the Rockets at number 5, and I mean, it's possible they could have a huge jump from Şengün. I mean, those types of things are always unexpected, possible, but after a couple months, anything is possible. So that's why I love doing standings and things like this. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you did, and I will catch you guys next time. Maybe next time we'll go ahead and hit up the Eastern Conference. I'd be very happy and eager to do that and give my thoughts. I already have my list made. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.